Key 1. Stoic. One of the most misunderstood aspects of Stoic philosophy is the common belief that to truly live by its principles, we must block out or suppress our emotions, especially those considered weak. We think that to be a Stoic means to avoid feeling pain, sorrow, or any negative emotions, and that we must bury these feelings in silence. This couldn't be further from the truth. The Stoics did not advocate for a life devoid of emotions. Instead, they sought to understand and transform these emotions into meaningful actions. Let's take a moment to reflect on the happiness strategies presented by ancient philosophies. There are many to consider, but let's focus on 3 distinct approaches that can help us rethink our pursuit of happiness. First, let's explore the philosophy of Epicurus, often wrongly labeled as a hedonist. His idea of happiness revolved around peace and tranquility, which comes from eliminating the unpleasantness of life. According to Epicurus, happiness is achieved when we remove all the stress, struggles, and chaos that we often believe we need to endure. He wasn't promoting indulgence in mindless pleasure, but rather encouraging us to live peacefully by distancing ourselves from life's unnecessary problems. To him, happiness wasn't about maximizing pleasure, but minimizing discomfort and finding contentment in simplicity. Next, we turn to the teachings of Jesus Christ, who introduced a radically different path to happiness: radical love. Love, in this sense, isn't just an emotion, but a way of living. Christ taught that love, divine love, was the key to unlocking true happiness, both in this life and the next. The idea here is that happiness comes from giving love freely and without condition, and that love itself is a transformative force central to human existence. This approach emphasizes a deep connection to others and the divine, fostering a sense of peace and fulfillment that transcends earthly troubles. The third path to happiness comes from Buddhism, which teaches us to want less. The Buddha's wisdom points out that desire is the root of suffering. The more we yearn for things, the more dissatisfied we become. Happiness, according to Buddha, arises when we release our attachment to worldly desires and cultivate inner peace. This isn't about living without ambition, but about aligning our desires with the natural flow of life, not letting them control us. The Buddha's teachings resonate deeply with Stoic thought, which also encourages us to manage our desires and passions, not to eliminate them entirely, but to understand their place in our lives. Now, when it comes to Stoicism, it's crucial to note that the Stoics themselves didn't get it wrong, but the way we interpret them often leads to misunderstanding. The greatest misconception is the idea that Stoicism is about suppressing emotions or enduring pain without acknowledgement. In reality, the Stoics recognize that we all feel emotions, just like anyone else. Their focus was on understanding those emotions, gaining control over them, and redirecting them in a way that serves our greater purpose. The Stoics didn't hide their feelings. They processed them and used them as a source of strength. The core of Stoic practice is not about hiding from the pain, but using it to learn and grow. Instead of avoiding uncomfortable feelings, Stoicism teaches us how to make sense of them and find meaning in them, thus turning them into something productive. The real essence of Stoicism is being alive in our feelings and understanding ourselves, not suppressing what we consider weaknesses. In fact, acknowledging and managing our emotions is what makes us stronger and more resilient. Furthermore, a key misunderstanding of Stoicism is the belief that it advocates apathy or resignation. People often think that Stoics simply accept the status quo and do nothing. This couldn't be further from the truth. The Stoics were deeply engaged in the world. Many were politicians, artists, and active participants in their communities. They understood that life involved challenges and emotions, but instead of succumbing to them, they faced them head-on with clarity and purpose. Stoicism is not about avoiding life struggles. It's about actively participating in life while maintaining inner peace and resilience. In the end, Stoic philosophy teaches us that true strength lies not in avoiding life's emotional complexities, but in embracing them, understanding them, and using them to propel us forward. It's about being fully alive in the world, feeling deeply, and living with intention. This is the Stoic way. Key 1. Stoic, one of the best ways to find lasting happiness is by discovering a deeper sense of purpose. When you dedicate yourself to something meaningful, whether it's a project, a cause, or even just a personal passion, you pour yourself into it, and in doing so, you begin to unlock a source of true fulfillment. The Stoics had a profound understanding of this, and one of the most poignant moments in Stoic philosophy is the final words of Cicero. At the end of his life, Cicero, who had been hunted by Roman centurions due to his involvement in political conflict, was about to meet his end after crossing Mark Antony in the aftermath of Julius Caesar's assassination. As the soldiers approached, ready to take his life, Cicero, facing his death with quiet defiance, looked at them and said, "There's nothing proper about what you're about to do to me, centurion, but do try to kill me properly." These words weren't a plea for mercy. They were a demonstration of strength, clarity, and confidence in his life's choices. Even in his last moments, Cicero's focus wasn't on begging for life, but on dying with dignity and purpose. This idea of knowing what truly matters, especially at the end of life, is something the Stoics teach us. Consider Cato, for instance, who chose to read Socrates before taking his own life, rather than submit to Caesar's will. That moment illustrates someone who understands what life is about, living on their terms, staying true to their values, no matter the cost. These final, bold acts come from a place of knowing that one has lived with purpose. The Stoic message is clear. When we face the end of life, we should not wish for just a little more time to hold on to things that don't truly matter. It's easy to think of the end as something we can escape with more achievements or more money. But real happiness and fulfillment aren't found in the relentless pursuit of fleeting things. Instead, the key is to live a life of meaning, even as it draws to a close. When Marcus Aurelius, dying from the plague, comforted his friends who were mourning him, his advice was simple yet profound. Don't cry for me. Think about all those who've passed and reflect on your own mortality. It's a call to focus on what truly matters in our limited time. Now let's talk about happiness. The equation for happiness involves three major components: genetics, 50%, circumstances, 25%, and habits, 25%. Interestingly, we don't have much control over our genetic makeup, but we have a lot more power over our habits and circumstances than we realize. Through studies on identical twins, it's been shown that about half of your baseline happiness is influenced by genetics. But the remaining 50% is shaped by your habits and the way you approach life. Your habits are your secret weapon. They're not just simple actions like eating well or exercising, although those are important. They're fundamental life practices that can transform your happiness. The Stoics spoke often about knowing yourself, which is one of the oldest and most important principles we have. When you understand your tendencies, you can choose how to respond to them. You can use your habits to become the master of your nature, instead of being enslaved by it. Circumstances, though often overrated in the pursuit of happiness, do matter, but only 25% of the equation. The common belief that a new job, relationship, or lifestyle change will make you permanently happy often falls short. People who have these expectations often find that once the novelty wears off, they're still left searching for deeper meaning. What truly affects your happiness long-term are the habits you build and the way you structure your life. So what are the habits that happy people cultivate? There are 4 key categories: faith, family, friendship, and work that serves others. By aligning your daily habits with these 4 principles, you create a life that brings lasting fulfillment, not because of circumstances or fleeting achievements, but because of the deep, purposeful choices you make. Key 1. Stoic imagine this. Sometimes, life has a way of wiping the slate clean for us. Whether it's through loss, hardship, or a major disruption, we're often left feeling broken, like everything we've built is gone. And yet, it's precisely in those moments of destruction that we have the opportunity to rebuild. This is the profound lesson found in the life of Zeno, the founder of Stoicism, who lost everything after a shipwreck. Penniless and stranded, he walked into a bookstore in Athens, where a chance encounter with a book on Socrates sparked the beginning of his philosophical journey. Zeno's story teaches us that true growth often comes from the most painful of experiences. Yes, he lost his fortune, his purple dye, an incredibly valuable commodity that was his family's livelihood. But, as he reflects, that loss became his greatest fortune. You see, in that moment of despair, he was forced to ask himself, what really matters? It wasn't the money or the status that he had before the shipwreck. It was the clarity he found in discovering philosophy. Now, think about it. When everything is stripped away, when you lose the things that once defined you, it's like being given a fresh start. At the lowest point, you're freed from everything that once anchored you to a certain path, and you get to choose a new direction. Zeno's great fortune wasn't just the philosophy he stumbled upon. It was the freedom that came with having nothing left to lose. In a way, he had to hit rock bottom to finally discover what truly mattered in life. So for those of you out there feeling defeated, lost, or insecure, whether from the death of a loved one, a job loss, illness, or simply fear the unknown, take a moment to reflect on the opportunity that comes with your struggles. Maybe, like Zeno, the loss you're experiencing is clearing the way for something far more meaningful. When your life feels like it's been swept away, you're given the chance to rebuild it with intention, not based on what you had before, but on what you want now. That's the ultimate gift, freedom to redefine your purpose and pursue what truly matters. In Stoic philosophy, suffering is not something to avoid or resent. It's a powerful catalyst for growth. As Zeno's story shows, it's through our greatest struggles that we find the clarity to forge a new path, one that aligns more deeply with who we truly are and what we truly value. This is why the Stoics believe that even in the darkest times, we can find an opportunity to emerge stronger, wiser, and more fulfilled. So, if life has knocked you down, remember this. From the ashes of your loss can rise a version of you that's more authentic, more powerful, and more aligned with your true purpose. Embrace the chance to rebuild, not just because you have to, but because you get to, and in doing so, you'll discover that the greatest fortune often comes from the very things we once feared losing.